available to them, right? Because to me, there's three major resources that a coach has got to always be thinking through about. Like, it's what are the physical resources, what are the human resources that they have, and then what are the financial resources, right? Because at the end of the day, a lot of coaches now, I say, they want to get paid like big dollars, but they don't have any experience about direction in the States or.
Coach John Barata, thank you for being here with from the field, Voices of Football.
Great, no, thanks for having me. I'm honored, and I look forward to getting to meet you and connect with you on talking some soccer and some football, of course.
It's always a good day to talk about soccer, right?
It's a great day. I mean, especially if you're a Real Madrid fan, it's a great day.
Yes. Did you see the game today? Or did you get to watch it?
I've been on the fields all day, but I did get to catch the last 20 minutes, which is all I needed to catch.
So we'll start with the first question. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in soccer? How'd you get into coaching or even playing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, thanks again for the opportunity. So I used to play many decades ago as a player. So I grew up in a Portuguese household in Danbury, Connecticut. So my parents wanted me to obviously play soccer, and that's really all I did. You know, it was the only sport I really gravitated towards. So I was super lucky to play, and I got to play a lot of different levels and a couple good levels, and got to play in a lot of different competitions, and both international and national. So I got to play in college, which was fun. I went to Assumption College in Worcester after having a pretty successful high school career, and then you know, we all try to play a little bit and have some fun after school. So, I played a little bit. I had a chance to train in Portugal at Benfica, and had a chance to also play another, overseas and just train a little bit here and there. So that was a lot of fun. And then got back in 2001. Had a little bit of a health challenge, and then I ended my career of trying to play soccer, and I got into coaching. I got into coaching right away, working some camps and clinics, and then the rest is history, right? Then I've been doing that now since 2001, almost part-time or full-time ever since. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you had a little bit of stint with Benfica, you said?
I just got a chance to go train there, train and play. I mean, I wasn't that good. But it was a great opportunity to go there to Lisbon and to train at the Stadio da Luz and the old one. I mean, it's old now. I mean, now I'm a little older than most of I'm sure hopefully some of your listeners, but the old Stadium of Lights was big. It was a huge bowl. It was beautiful. But now the new stadium is more up to date and a little more flash. I was there a couple of years ago as well.
Oh, were you?
No longer playing. Just
So when I was looking up into you, right, I seen your dad is a coach and a Hall of Famer in his own right. Was he the inspiration for you to become a soccer coach?
So my dad was, I mean, he was my coach. He helped build a passion and instill the passion within of the game, right? I mean, we're very totally different coaches, but yeah, he definitely helped me get into to the game and build a love of it and get me coaching and enjoying. So he's one of them, right? Along with, John Murphy and other coaches who have helped me kind of get into the game. But definitely my dad is someone who helped me build a passion for it, right? He coached me when I was little. Of all things, I tell people he may not have been around all the time, but he was definitely around for the soccer. So that was great.
That's great. Yeah, like I said, I looked into you and I saw that like he's a legend in his own right. He coached for many years and he won a couple state titles, right?
Yeah, so I mean, Chico, he coached in Danbury, Connecticut. He coached at Immaculate High School where I went to school. He coached a lot of club. I mean, he's been coaching for over 40 something years here in the States. And he won 2 state titles at the high school at Immaculate. And yes, he was he would definitely refer to himself as a legend. Um, and some others would as well, but he uh he won a couple of championships, with some league play at the school, and he also won some stuff with the club. So he's been
Okay.
for a while. But him and I had we have a joke, or I had a joke. Um, he was always could tell people he was better than me because he always had two state titles in high school. But he can't anymore.
Oh, you already tied up with him or you beat him?
I've already beat him, so
Oh, okay.
he can no longer, and I've only done it 15 years. So him and I have a little bit of a joke back and forth now. But yeah, he's a good he's a good coach, a lot of passion. I mean, he's an old school coach though. I mean, like he still coaches right now,
Mhm.
and like he is, people catch it's called catch people off guard sometimes. How he's a little bit aggressive and still like a bit of a screamer and shouter, right? So we all coach differently, right? But
Right,
he
right.
he coaches different than I do for sure. But yeah, I appreciate you bringing him up because he definitely helped build a passion and give me the foundation for loving the game. So I'm eternally grateful for that.
I'm just like I said, I just looked into you and I seen that he was a legend in his own right, you know. So I'll go into the next question. Was he the most influential person, and how did he impact you to become a coach?
Um, yeah, the funny thing about in terms of most influential person in regards to this, it's probably my mom too, though. I mean, I'd say both of them because my
Okay.
mom was supportive of soccer in general, right? And she always said that I would do something in the game. Um, whether I mean, obviously I wasn't gonna have to play, so then coaching, right? So and so she always kind of pushed me to do what I wanted to do, which, obviously was a love of the game, right? At the end of the day, whether you're gonna make a lot of money or not make any money, support a family or not support a family, whatever it was that I was going through at the time, she was always very supportive of like, hey, stick with soccer if that's what you want to do, keep going. But in terms of the early years, yeah, I mean, watching my dad coach was something I enjoyed very much, right? And then coming right out of college and, then kind of turning, the page quickly from graduating from college and then jumping into the world workforce or, learn some coaching and do it more often. 'Cause I mean, coming from playing to coaching is very different, right? I
Right.
mean, it's not the same thing. So, having my mom there to help guide that and, continue to give me, the positive reinforcement to want to continue to do it. Because there's some tough times, right? I mean, coach isn't like the most lucrative role,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
so there's some tough times along the way, but having family support and people that were committed to helping you succeed was great. So I think both my parents were very, very influential from the coaching side to keep me going, as long as in addition to the rest of my family, my brothers and sisters. Because again, at the time I started, it was more like not an industry. I mean, right now it's an industry
Hmm.
that is kind of like taking its own legs, and I mean it's very professionalized. I mean, youth sports, good or bad, it's become an industry, right?
Right.
And it is really it's careers and jobs um, but at that point it wasn't. I mean, it was 20 years, 24 years ago. So it was just getting legs, right? So I think those two were most influential. I mean, in terms of coaches that have come my way. I mean, I've been very lucky to have, a Peter Gardula, a John Murphy, a Wayne Moniz back in the day, obviously my father, but a Tom Goodman. So there's been a lot of like different coaches that have
Okay.
come around, like, and Joe from Connecticut and Aldwin. So lots of guys that I played with on Connecticut select teams, all-star teams. So like people just come into your lives and you learn from, John Salvatore, someone I worked with in Connecticut as well, and Steve Cox. And so like lots of names of people that have been able to kind of influence you. And then I mean Tony DeChico and Dan Gaspar, all guys that I got a chance to know and meet throughout my time as a coach educator and even at the United Soccer coaches, all those coaches. So there's a lot of I've been very lucky to have a lot of people kind of cross my path that I like to learn from and be a kind of a colleague and friend to.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So I know you mentioned your mom gave you that passion kind of for the game, right?
Well, yeah, my dad and my mom, both of them, yeah.
Right. So how's your passion for the sport evolved over the 2 decades or so more years that you've been coaching? How has that evolved for you?
Yeah, I mean, so now it used to be the passion of playing, right? I used to love playing the game, right? I used to love
Okay.
watching the game. I used to love anything about watching Benfica play or watching the men's team play or watching soccer in general. it's changed a little bit to more like I really enjoy coaching the kids now
Okay.
and watching players develop and grow into whatever their potential is going to be, right? Because we can't control what their potential is going to be because they have to kind of do it themselves, right? I mean, we're a part of the player's journey. So like when we have players that play professionally or players that play on national teams and players that make it, we're a part of their journey, right? We're not their journey,
Yeah.
right? We happen to help get them from maybe point A to point B or point A to point Z, but we're not the journey they are, right? We're just a part of it. So I think that's what I've really enjoyed doing now, and I'm starting to enhance that and maybe not change it, but also start to add. I like doing the coach education now, right? So the educating coaches and working with coaches and learning and helping kind of develop our next wave of coaches who are going to be coaching in the game, right? So that's something I'm doing a lot now for U.S. soccer as well. So I think it's just changed a bit from like being on the field and playing all the time to help guiding and showing and trying to help kids have fun and have a sense of belonging, right? And then help them develop, right? That's kind of the main objective now.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, so like I said, as I was looking you up and reading into you, I saw you have an academy, right? The beautiful
Yep.
game soccer academy. What are the key elements you focus on to show the quality and success of your program?
Yeah, so I mean, for a beautiful game, it's I got to start that as like a project in school, which is funny, in college, and then it took on a different shape when it came out of school and became more camps and clinics. So it's more of a summer camp and clinic program, and a couple programs throughout the year, and we focus on very high end quality. So we bring in coaches from across the globe to come down. Right, this year we're going to have a technical director from Portugal and an instructor for FIFA that will come and run the camp program with me. And it's all about soccer, right? To be fair, it's not a camp program that's going to waste time or spend time on, you know, we do fun team building, but it's all soccer specific. Like we don't go to like mountain climbing or hiking or ropes courses and kind of like take 4 or 5 hours a day doing that. Like we literally play soccer 4 days, 4 times a day, and we train and it's a little bit it's a soccer experience. It's fun, but it is soccer, right? So I tell people like if you're gonna come, make sure it's ready to work and play soccer and not really just waste time. So it's a higher level program that we offer, and we limit the numbers, right? So I get to control it because like we don't go over 80 in a group, right? So it's not about making money; it's about making quality, right? So
Okay.
that's how we've always done it, and I've enjoyed that, right? So that's from the academy side. But I mean, I also run, I work with a club called NEFC, right? South, so I run the region, and in that region we have about 850 players that we work with, so about 60 teams that I help oversee and kind of manage with my directors who I'm close with. And then I also work with the town program. I've been there for 20 years um, in Easton, Massachusetts, and it's a volunteer-based organization. So that is, I'm the paid professional to help out the volunteer coaches, but we have a volunteer board who's just wonderful, right? And we're going to celebrate 50 years actually next year as an organization. But it works with our volunteer coaches. It's kids who want to have fun. It's not the club level. It's more of a recreational and competitive town program. That's what Easton is. So, and then I do U.S. soccer, but I also coach a high school team. So I do
Wow.
soccer all the time. Yeah.
So how do
Yeah.
you find time to do all this?
Well, some of it mixes and matches, right? So some of it is kind of, how do I say it? It's interwoven, right? So like the high school is in the town that I am the director of coaching, right? So I coach Oliver Ames High School, which is in Easton, Massachusetts. So I'm blessed that I can go right from practice to go watch my Easton youth soccer coaches and help them out. So I can be there. The club, it's hard in the fall, but that's why I have directors that are better and smarter than me doing things for me so that I can be around and be present. And then I jump very heavily back into the club right after Thanksgiving because my high school season is quite busy with the high school and the town. But I am very involved with NEFC South throughout the whole fall, but
Mhm.
less on the field, if that makes sense. So more administrative, more
Oh, okay,
technical,
okay.
or watching. So I mean, I got plenty of time to do that. It's just on the field, the hours get a little bit compressed
Right.
when it comes to the fall, to be fair. So but then US soccer, I get to do that, the coach education, and that's more fits around my schedule in terms of what I have available. So like I'm teaching a D license now and a C license now, but it works within the time I have open. So uh,
Okay.
I'm able to make it work because again, the Beautiful Game Soccer Academy is awesome and it's a lot more of my summer stuff, right? So I
Okay.
have 3 weeks in the summer now. 'Cause I have kids too, so I have to hang out. I want to hang out with my wife and kids, so
All right.
got to try and balance the the personal life and the professional life because as you know, doing soccer, you love soccer, so you don't mind spending hours and hours and hours and hours a day, but then you got to realize like at some point you got to have work-life balance. So that's something
Yeah.
I need to do a better job of anyway, still, but I'm trying. So I'm trying to, but I do have a lot of time to do stuff, so it's good.
No, I understand completely. Sometimes you get lost so much in the world of soccer that, oh man, I got my kids over here. I gotta go watch them too.
Yeah, no, I just came back from coaching the kids. That's what was funny. I just came back from coaching both my kids today.
Oh,
Um,
okay, okay.
so it's good.
Can you share some examples of innovative strategies you've implemented in sales and marketing for your academy and how they uh impacted its growth?
You know what? So what we've done with BGSA, right? So I'll just do the summer one. I'll do the club, right? So
Mhm.
from the summer camp business, it's really been a lot of word of mouth, right? And like we have a loyal customer base, and then as they graduate out, we just bring a new group in because again, we don't try to make it huge numbers. I don't have to market so much because word of mouth has been very lucky, and people just kind of bring others in. Um, so it's really like a Facebook post, right? A couple times, between November and now, and that's it. Campus full. So like it's one of those things that we're kind of lucky. But again, I'm also not trying to get 200 kids, right?
Okay.
Because I feel like I want to keep the quality very, very tight.
Mhm.
So we cap our camps at certain numbers, right? Where others will just go to 200 and just bring more staff in. And I just think it can get too big, to manage the quality. So we just have a lot of good people that are doing, our own like kind of bringing friends or just sharing with my own club. And that usually does a pretty good job where I don't have to get too crazy with innovation. But what we do on the camp, like grounds, is cool. We change things up, like soccer size, and we do different like soccer yoga, different activities, different mental training. So like we do a lot of different things at the camp, right? That we incorporate into the whole camp experience. So that helps sell it for future years. Um, and then in terms of NEFC, and the club work. So I used to be a smaller club called Legacy, and the way we grew was, we had one team, and then every year we would just grow, and then we added a team, then we added 4 teams, and the way we did that was I believe that if you join a club, you should stay with that club, right? And
Okay.
as a coach, I believe it's our job to help those kids develop as best we can and keep them in the club. So when Scott Dole and I, a friend of mine, we started Legacy, and he ended up, unfortunately, I started the club really for him because I had a lot of jobs, but I started the club for him, and then a year later he was diagnosed with brain cancer. So
Oh man.
unfortunately, then after a year later after that, then he was passed. But like we kept the club going, right? Kind of like in his honor and his name. And we kept the tradition, which was every year, all right, we invite everyone back to the club. So we don't cut the kids if they're not good enough. We invite them all back and we make sure that we help place them on a team and we continue to serve them, right? And help them get better, right? That's how we do it. And it was great, and that's how we continue to grow. I mean, we went from like one team to 38 teams, right,
Wow.
over like 5 years. Um, the challenge though is the soccer world has changed so much and it's evolved, and I don't know how it is out of completely in Kansas City, but like unfortunately, parents and people don't trust anymore. Like everyone thinks like club soccer is always a money grab or it's always someone's doing it for this. It's not always true, right? I mean, some people do have philosophies. Our club grew in a way that was we invited everyone back. If you wanted to leave, that's okay because I can't force you to stay. But we stayed with our true to our mission that our job is to help develop you. And if we did a good job, then you should easily just stay with the club. And if we didn't do a good job, well, that's okay. Then maybe you have to move on somewhere else. No big deal. So we've kept that. So that's really unique because most people don't do that. That is a unique thing that we've always done. And now that we're 60 teams, though, it is harder to do, right?
Right.
It is
Yeah.
harder, right? So it's been innovative. It's been great, but this year was probably our last year we'll be able to do it in that manner, like inviting 800 people back. Just because, like, again, I think the market is it's becoming saturated with
Mhm.
opportunity and options and confusion. Like, what league is this? What league is that? That parents are like, I'm not going to commit to you because I have no idea what I'm going to do with my kid. And I'm like, okay. So I think that's something we've done, which was really cool. I just think we're gonna have to change it a little bit going forward. But I'm a big believer if someone's not happy, they shouldn't be with you anyway. So,
Right.
but our innovation has always been like invite everyone back and just be a family, you know. But the challenge is sometimes it's harder nowadays, to be fair.
Okay. So when you mentioned inviting them back, I like the players inviting them back.
Yeah, inviting all the players back to the club.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So, like, if you were in the club, even if you're not the best player, we'll still invite you back and we'll help you and we'll find you a team to play within our club to keep your development going. So
This
you don't
was
have to
sorry to interrupt. This was with Legacy, right? Or with
with Legacy, and we've kept that tradition with NEFC because what I did is I folded Legacy into NEFC South, and I
okay,
made it. I brought us in, and now I run the whole region. So,
okay.
there, there was a reasons for that was because like the market in New England's a bit crazy and chaotic, right? So we want to join forces with a very strong and reputable club, and also the largest club in New England. So we wanted to join forces there, and then we became their largest region now, which is great.
Oh wow. Okay, okay. So what do you think what are the most important qualities you look for when recruiting and training coaching professionals? Because I know you said you do that as well.
You know what? You have to have that. The interesting part is having someone who has a growth mindset, right? I mean, you hear that word, right? It's a
Mhm.
buzzword everyone uses now, right? Growth mindset. But I mean, but it's truly having one, right? One that is reflective, right? One that is someone who is willing to take self-regulated learning on, right? Someone who will take some coach education opportunities, right? I think U.S. Soccer provides incredible opportunities for learning and for growing, right? And I think that's something that coaches should take advantage of, right? I think it's something that is an opportunity for growth, both personal, because I think a lot of what we learn is how to grow as a person, but then also how to help educate our players, right? Our questions, for example, like we help coaches think about what their why is, right?
Mhm.
I think that is very important for a coach to be reflective enough to have a growth mindset as like, what is your why? Not I want a job, not I need a career, not I like the game, but like really, what is your why? Like, I want to provide the highest level of service to as many kids as possible to help them reach their potential. That could be your why. That's my why, right? And like then it's how do you want to get there, right? Well, I want to educate myself so I can help them attain their goals, right? So it's
Mhm.
like it's steps. So I think someone who is good at really reflecting, someone who is interested in a growth mindset, but also someone who can communicate. Like I'll take someone who can communicate now better and at a higher pay, a higher quality, in my opinion, than someone who knows their X's and O's.
Okay.
I got to be honest. Like right now, running a club, for example, from a club side, I would take a coach who can articulate their goals, set expectations, plan a session, right? And at least be able to provide feedback to players and talk to parents to connect the consumer and the customer because they're separate, right? Like
Okay.
in soccer, it's the only market that like one of the only markets that the consumer, which is the player, right, might be
Mhm.
super happy, but the customer who's paying as a parent might be hearing from Auntie Susie that you got to go to this club to go to this league, and then
Mhm.
like it's a disconnect, right? There's
Yeah.
the kid happy, but the parent wants to move somewhere else because of what they heard. So what I think is coaches have to be able to communicate to families and explain and articulate what they're doing. So to me, someone who's a growth mindset, someone who knows their why, right, and has an opportunity to reflect, and then someone who can communicate. I mean, that's what I would look for right now.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Um, so I know you mentioned we go back to the same thing, right? You mentioned that you coach with the US Federation, right?
Yeah, yeah, I help with do some coach education from grassroots, D's, and the C's.
Okay. So what are the common challenges you see aspiring coaches face and how do you help them overcome those?
It's a great question, right? Because there's so many challenges that come about only because and it also depends on where you're coming from,
Okay.
right? Like so there's demographic questions, right? There's reality. For example, your reality in Kansas City is different than my reality in Massachusetts,
Hmm.
right? You may be able to train outside 10 months a year. We can train outside 8 months a year. So already there's a difference in terms of our realities, right? So it's having a coach understand like what is their current reality? What are the resources available to them, right? Because to me, there's three major resources that a coach has got to always be thinking through about like it's what are the physical resources, what are the human resources that they have, and then what are the financial resources, right? Because at the end of the day, a lot of coaches now I say they want to get paid like big dollars, but they don't have any experience, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
But it's what they want. And what I try to tell aspiring coaches is like level set just a bit and set some milestones, like and come up with ideas as to what is that you would like to do, and then what do you need to bootstrap now in order to get there, right? Because you may want to be on the national team staff. Great. Well, you're not going to just jump on it with your D license, right? You're going to have to put a step and a plan and process, right? Or set something rolling to see how can you get there. Do you have to volunteer somewhere? Do you have to work with a regional team, a state team, an ODP team? So setting goals. So for an aspiring coach, I would say set goals, meet a lot of people, open up your network, right? Listen to podcasts, come and join, the voices of football, right? And get to know guys like you, right? Get to know people that are on your podcast. Someone can reach out to me directly now, and I can maybe open up some doors for them and help them understand like maybe a different thing that they weren't thinking about, right? I think networking is key, right? So
Hmm.
first, it's set a plan in motion. What do you want to do, right?
Okay.
Second one then is going to be networking. Third thing, you got to educate because in education, you have opened your door to so much opportunity for networking, for people, for talking, for opening your mind and expanding it. And whether you agree or not with the methodologies, it won't matter because you're learning something new that you can then take what you want to use. And then if you don't want to use it, then don't use it. But at least you'll have the knowledge as to why it's being done. So I think those three areas would be very helpful, right, for a coach who's aspiring, right, but also for someone that is trying to get into it, right, and trying to become better at their trade. I think you'd have to make sure that you're getting educated along the way. And U.S. Soccer obviously does a great job, but United Soccer Coaches also does a wonderful job of providing coaches and opportunities for coursework. I mean, I did all the licenses on both sides, right, myself. So like, and I did the Master Coach Diploma for United Soccer Coaches, and that was an awesome experience as well. So I think there's a lot of great opportunity for coaches out there to learn and to grow.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on there. Um, one of the reasons I started this podcast is because I want to get in front of people, coaches like yourself. Like had it not been for this podcast, I have never met you. So this gives me an opportunity to learn from you. And that's why I created this, as well help other coaches. That are learn from you, from your experience that you have. You can share that with them.
Yeah, I know. I think your podcast is a great opportunity. I think hopefully it'll take off and it'll blow up and coach will have an opportunity to grow and learn from here, right? This is one education opportunity. It's a networking opportunity. It's also an opportunity that some coaches in the future will use your platform to kind of elevate themselves, right, in the future,
Yep.
right? So there's a lot of things that, again, opportunity to get to know each other will help, right? You're in Kansas City right now, right? And
Hmm.
I'm in Boston or south of Boston. So like our worlds get to collide here. And then
Yep.
there's going to be hopefully hundreds and thousands of people listening to your podcast, right? And all of our worlds will intersect, right? Because I'm
Yes.
sure you post this, you'll post my link, you'll post an email address, you'll post some things that people can come out and connect with us, and I'm
Hmm.
fine with that because I think that's the way to. That's what soccer should be about. It's a melting pot sport, and the more people we know and we can talk to and learn to trust, the better off we're all going to be.
Oh, no, completely agree. Yep, yep. It's all about that knowledge, and learning from different people, different ways of doing it.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, that's great. So what
So,
else? What other questions you got there?
So you mentioned that you got your your licenses and honors from the Soccer Federation and United Soccer Coaches as well. United Soccer Coaches Association of America, right?
Yes.
How has that influenced your coaching philosophies and methods?
Yeah, it influenced a lot. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, when you first become a coach, you think you know everything because you were a player, right? I mean, I
Yeah,
did, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I play it. I know what I'm doing. Um, but we don't, right? As a coach, understanding how to deliver our message to our players in a way that they can process it, in a way that they can understand it, in a way that we can guide them correctly, that they can not only listen and hear our information, but be able to then process it and learn, right? I mean, you can talk all day, but if they're
Mhm.
not understanding it and processing it, then have we really taught them, right? So I think that for me, going on the coach education track, right? I mean, from the US Soccer, United Soccer Coaches, and others, it's helped me really become a better coach, right? I'm a much better coach, and it's also helped me calm down a bit. Super
Okay.
excited, like super excited. I want to like shout and scream and cheerlead and be a color commentator, and I still have those traits. You can't change everything, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it's helped me understand more of like when I need to interject, how to maybe make a coaching point. What I really love about it is it helps me prepare for all my training sessions now, knowing what I want to get out of it and how to help impact my players' behavior. Right? I got to say that on both schools, like they have good education, different methodologies on both sides of the house, which is okay, right? And different ways of teaching and ideas in teaching, but both ultimately lead you to a path of growth, right? And
Mhm.
being vulnerable, right? And knowing that we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes as a coach, right? And I believe that the coaching process that US Soccer provides is very, very good, right? I mean, where you assess a situation, right? And then you reflect on it, and then you come up with a plan, and then you implement it, then you reflect again, then you analyze what you did. So I think there's a lot of like the coaching process to circle. That's opened up my eyes completely. And hopefully it's made me a better coach. I mean, I don't know. I'll have to ask my kids and I'll have to look at eh, I think it's helped me become a little bit better. So I do think that they're very important in how you become the next version of yourself, right?
Okay.
I do think that is very helpful for you to take coach education to help you reach the next version of yourself because they're going to be there we're here to help guide you to get to that point.
No, and I think you're a wonderful coach because I see you were voted coach of the year. I think it was 2022, somewhere around there. You were voted. So I'm assuming you're a very good coach.
Yeah. It was a very weak coaching pool that year. Very weak coaching. Yeah, it was United Soccer was a very nice honor. The National Coach of the Year award. Yeah, it was a very nice honor to get there. Um, and again, it's us helping our players get there, right? Because without my
Mhm.
players, I don't get anything. I
Right,
tell them
yeah.
without my players, there's no award for us as coaches. So, we'll take awards as a gift to our players, but we don't do it for the awards. But yeah, I was very, very blessed. I was very fortunate to get that recognition. And again, I think it was a weak pool in 2022.
So, I know you speak Spanish and Portuguese, right? How has
Yeah.
that ability to communicate in different languages benefited your coaching and management roles?
Yeah, I mean, my Spanglish is very good. I'm very good at Spanglish.
Okay,
It's half English, half Spanish, but no, it's very good at Portuguese. So it's good to be conversational in both, right?
okay.
I mean, I think it's very important because when I teach the coach educators first from that perspective, there's a lot of coaches that English is a second language, right? So being able to communicate to them a little more in Spanish or in Portuguese, it helps a lot, right? And from a player perspective, it's tremendously important, right? Because you're dealing with families whose moms and dads may not speak any English, right? They've come over and like now they want to play soccer, but they have no idea how to get started. So
Mhm.
like I'm talking to parents. with financial aid questions, registration questions. I'm helping them do registration right online because they have no idea, right? And then you ask for a credit card, they're like, I don't have a credit card. It's helpful, in my opinion, to be able to connect with different demographics and different people if you have language. Now, it doesn't hold you back if you don't, but if you have the fortunate opportunity, we'll say, to learn a language, even in college or in high school or after school, honestly, I say you should take it because I think it will help enhance your ability to help others, right? You'll be able to help more kids, more coaches, more parents, just because you'll have that much more power in terms of your communication skills.
Right. Yeah. I think, look, like you said, you'll be able to connect with more people, and the game of soccer, that's how it is. You got to connect with people.
Correct. Yeah.
Um, we'll go back to the grassroots a little bit. Can you discuss the impact of your work and the growth and development of soccer in the United States, especially at the grassroots level?
Yeah. So I'm like I told you, I'm very blessed that I work in two different grassroots organizations, really, in terms of
Hmm.
player development. One is my town program, Eastern Youth Soccer. And Eastern Soccer, I've been there again. So this is my 20th year. We have a terrific grassroots program, a pipeline. Like, so we have a pre-K program, 3 and 4 year olds that do like 2v2 to 3v3 soccer on Saturdays. And we do our first, second grade, which is like 4v4, 3v3 on Saturdays, and games and parent volunteers. And it's just a wonderful party on a Saturday night, or I mean a Saturday morning, for us to have fun. And then we have our like Shoveltown program in the fall, and then we have our travel teams in the spring. And there's guidance for our coaches all the way through, right? So they have a consistent message, and they have access to me as a coach and director to assist them in any way possible. But we really start with the younger kids, and we follow the modified recommendations and PDIs from the federation, right? So that the kids have the best development plan possible, right? Because we
Okay.
do believe in it. Now, granted, I integrate a little bit about what I did when I was in Portugal, and in my time in Brazil, and different things like that. So we take different methodologies and ideas, but we definitely focus on giving the kids as many touches on the ball as possible, right? That's our influence on the grassroots side there. And then in regards to the club, NEFC, where I work, we take it serious that the younger kids need like someone to. We want to put our good coaches with the younger kids. So like I coached last year the 2009 girls, and they were the state champions in Massachusetts. We got to go to the nationals, so it was awesome, right? But I gave them up last year, and this past year I coached the U8
Oh, wow.
2016, 2017 boys, right?
Hmm.
Um, they're more my maturity level, so it's good. So it was perfect. Um, we had a so the reason I tell that story is I believe that our younger players need good coaching too. They can't just be put on a field and just play 1-on-1 or 3-on-3. Yes, that's a great coaching tool, and that's an element we use to get them better. But there also has to be a sense of building some community, some family around the guys, and making sure that they understand what we're trying to teach, and jumping in a little bit to help educate. So I think what I've been able to do with the grassroots is put some of our better coaches to work with the youth players as well, because during those golden years of development, I think it's important to make sure that they're getting some some good coaching as well as parent coaching, which is also good because I'm also a parent. So I felt like I was a pretty good coach for my volunteer organization, right?
Hmm.
So I don't want to say that it's only professional coaches that are good, to be fair, but I do think good coaches should be at that youth level, right? Working with the young kids at the grassroots to help get them to where they get to go.
Yeah, no, I've seen a post the other day, or reading an article, and it said that at the grassroots, the better coaches should be there just because you're just starting out, so that's where you need the better coaches.
Yep, yep. I mean, I think so. I mean, I think that having them there is great because, in fairness, I mean, most coaches that are decent can coach a great team.
Hmm.
But if you got 11, 18 great players, most people can jump in and coach that team. It's can we make those 18 great players from when they're younger? That's I think what the fun challenge is.
Yeah. So we'll go back to the beautiful game, your academy. What are some memorable success stories from your time at the beautiful game soccer academy that highlight the impact of your leadership in the program?
Yeah, I mean, for the beautiful game, there's a couple things that come to mind, right? In regards to, we've been able to coach some of our All-American players during the fall season, but also during high school, preseason camp, seeing players that have come through our academy that are playing MLS next, right? But then also playing MLS. One fun story, is one of our players, and I don't want to say his name to embarrass, but we had a player who made a top team, right, in the MLS, and then only to have to be removed from the roster because Messi came to into
Oh, wow.
so and again, I'm not gonna exact names because it's a jump, but one of the players that was at our academy um ended up moving and doing very well for himself and still playing professional, but he had to get bumped off the roster to make room for Messi, right? So I mean,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
it's a great story to tell your kids when you're older, but right now I'm sure it's a bummer. We've had from the academy side and also from my club side, the girls winning the state championship in 20, last year, what was a great feat because it's a team that of most girls from like one town and a couple surrounding towns. So that was an awesome opportunity to have them win at a state level and then go on to the nationals. For my high school team, there's been some fun games, right? I mean, last year in 2022, we won the state title. We were losing 2-1 in the last 3 minutes, and we won 3-2.
Wow.
Um, yeah, go figure, right? We scored 2 goals in the last 3 minutes just to make it exciting. And
Wow.
yeah, and then this past year, we won the state title back to back with a goal in overtime. So it's been, there's a couple of those moments recently. But I guess one of the most fun moments is my UH just played in a tournament, first time playing 7v7, and I think we lost like Oda like 0-20. We didn't score a goal, but they had the most fun ever because they were just playing, laughing, silly, and they just loved being together. And of course, we're only like 6 years old playing against tens. So it was okay. We didn't expect to do great, but they loved every minute of it. So I think every time on the field, there's an awesome experience. I got to be honest, like I love the coaching side of things. So there's always something fun. Like a kid gets it, a kid clicks. I've been super fortunate that I've now, you mentioned what, memories. Like I just officiated my second wedding, which, I'm not a minister, but my player from 2009, my captain, he asked me to officiate his wedding last year, which I did. That was my
Okay.
first one, super nervous. Then this year, a girl I coached in Easton, she also asked me to officiate her wedding. So like, I think there's so much more than just soccer when we, as coaches, I think that's what
Mhm.
we have to remember is, very few percent of our kids are going to go on and make it to the pros, right?
Yeah.
Very few, but all of them are going to go on and be parents, spectators, administrators, lovers of the game, grassroots players, grassroots coaches. So we have to just continue to instill that love and passion in the game as best we can so they can continue that journey.
Yeah, I know the big impact we have as coaches to influence the lives of our players, outside of just the soccer. It's tremendous.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's great.
And that's great that you got to appreciate the weddings. That's very cool. So, how do
Yes.
you stay current with the? Oh, sorry. How do you stay current with the latest trends and development in soccer coaching and management, and how do you incorporate them into your work?
So again, I'm very fortunate that I do coach education, and for U.S. Soccer, they do a lot of coach education to the educators as well.
Oh, okay.
So like you don't just get educated and congratulations, you're off, right? They continue to do follow up, and U.S. Soccer does a really good job of providing tools and guidance. So like every month I can jump on a support call just to get more information, right? And just to get a refresher, right? I can take online modules that they provide. So I think by me asking other coaches to take education, I have to take my own advice, right? So I
Okay.
keep my own, and I jump on education whenever I can, right? And I also read, right? I read what's online. I try to follow different trends. You put these FIFA alerts on like FIFA methods of training. I actually have like 5 different tabs open right now on my computer about FIFA lessons and learning and managing. So like it's just always trying to find a way to become better, right? Because
Mhm.
uh, we're not good at everything, right? And most of us aren't good at anything, so we're always learning, right?
Yep.
And I think because you have that mindset that you're never really done growing, I think that's what always helps us become better, right? And that's what I try to do. So when you ask what I do, I continue my education as much as I can. And sometimes it's hard because we get bogged down with our world, like life, right? And like you got like 5,000 things going on, and then finding time to educate yourself might be hard. So this to me is an education, right? So I block this time in here so we can talk and you can ask questions and we can have a little bit of fun. And this is like a great education moment for me as well.
Yeah, no, it's great. I've seen a quote that says, the only thing I know is that I don't know nothing, you
Yeah.
know. And it's kind of what you're saying, you know.
It's true though. I mean, the game is always changing, right? And the game is getting faster and quicker and more athletic and everything every day, right? At the higher levels and even at the and you start to transcend into our youth academies and our youth programs. The game is just it's just becoming very quick, very dynamic. Can you evolve? Can you think it through? You know, so um, the best thing I ever saw, though, I laugh is sitting on a Friday afternoon watching kids play, and this mom is like telling her son, "Hey, move! You got to move." And I think I've even heard other people tell the story now. And they're saying, but I've seen it live. Someone said, "Move, move, move," and the kid goes, "Mom, I'm moving. I'm like Messi." You must have just gone to watch Messi play at Gillette. I'm
Yeah.
like, you watch Messi kind of floats, and he just maneuvers that field brilliantly. But like now, the little kids are all saying, "I don't got to work hard. I don't got to run. I'm like Messi." So I think that's the best one I've ever heard. Now I don't got to run. I'm like Messi. So that was class. Anyways, yeah.
What's your vision for the future of soccer in the United States? How do you see your role in that the beautiful game in achieving that vision?
Yeah, I mean, from the beautiful game perspective, or actually any of the programs like Eastern Youth Soccer and NEFC and even Olive Rams, our number one goal for me is to just keep soccer as like, and even US soccer is to make soccer a preeminent sport in the US, right? Make soccer like the sport everyone wants to play. All the kids want to play, they want to be a part of it. Like in Portugal, right? Like in Brazil. Like, I mean, when I go there, like everyone's playing soccer, whether it's street soccer, futsal, whatever it is, everyone's playing the game. So it'd be great to have that be the culture here. And it's growing, right? I think that the outlook is extremely exciting for the US. I mean, we are hosting some of the biggest soccer events in this country, like going from now until the World Cup and beyond,
Yep.
right? For the men's World Cup and then the women's events that we're hosting. So there's a lot of excitement being held around soccer here in the States. So I think we're ready for I think it's kind of plateaued a little bit, to be fair, at
Hmm.
the youth level a little bit. And now I think we're ready to jump back up with the next maybe take our next level and try to reach the next summit, right? Or the next we'll say apex, right? To get up there and get to the next top for us, I think. I think it's gonna happen in the next few years because I think soccer will continue to grow and I think that by having these exciting events, more and more people will just become more, kind of in love with the game. And hopefully what's going to happen is there'll be more people into it to give more opportunity for kids to play.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah, of course. So you mentioned the World Cup, right? Do you see the United States winning the World Cup in the near future?
I don't know. So, I mean, I always think that it's so anyone can win, right?
Of
To be
course.
fair,
Yep. Hmm.
anyone can win. I think that the US has a good chance, right? To compete well for it,
Okay.
right? I do. I think they'll have a good chance to compete. I think that with everyone being healthy and us getting on the same page, and I mean, obviously the roster is still 2 years away, so who knows actually who will be available and ready for the roster? I mean, we have ideas,
Yeah.
but who knows? I mean, hell, I mean, when people don't even know who's playing the European Cup, and that's this summer, right? Because people might be injured. But I think that we are set, and we're kind of primed to have a good World Cup, right? I think we're primed to have a good World Cup, and I think that we're gonna hopefully make some noise, and people will be surprised about how successful we are.
Okay. Do you think they'll end up in top four at least?
I'll say we're gonna go for a top 8 finish.
That'll work. What
I
about
think.
I'm from Mexico. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm from
Yeah.
Mexico. What do you think about Mexico? Do you think they'll
Listen, man, I think Mexico always has a chance to be in the top 8. The challenge is it all depends on if they have to play the US and lose again. I mean, it's just the way it works. I mean, we've got your number now. Dos a cero, like seriously. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say it, but that's it. Like, I do. I think that both of them, obviously representing CONCACAF, will have
Mhm.
a good opportunity, and I do think that a final 8 will be great. I mean, U.S. In 202, 2002, when they were, it was a South Korea. I think that
Yeah,
was when they finished in the 8, like top 8, or I think that was a top finish, right, or top 16, but they finished well,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I think we're getting ready for that. I think we're getting ready to be up there again.
Yeah, because with all the European-based players that are going in and coming out, they're gonna have a lot of good team coming up within the next couple of years.
Yeah, so again, that's where it's interesting. It's like who's going to be available at that point? Like who's going to be ready? Who's going to be fit? Who's going to be? I mean, because like the last one was a little bit of not a downer, but it wasn't. We wanted more, right? So I think this next one, I think will be a little bit better.
I hope so. Yeah, yeah, we all hope so.
Yeah, true.
How do you balance the administrative and executive responsibilities of running an academy with hands-on aspects of coaching and educating as well?
Yeah, so I mean that's where it's really hard now, right? It gets very difficult because like the administrative role is big, right? And being
Mhm.
the executive role there's a lot of off the field work that has to be done now. So, but I love being on the field to remind me why I do the executive stuff. Right. Like, am I so like I try to balance it by trying to be on the field at least 2 to 3 times a week minimum, just so that it keeps me fresh and always practicing what I preach, right? Because it's always hard to be even like a coach educator or a director and be in like, sit on your ivory tower up here, but not actually doing any coaching. Right. Which,
Right.
right, you've seen it all over the country. There's people that give a lot of instruction, but they're not even in the trenches anymore. So they don't really know what's happening, but like it's there's a bit of a disconnect. I don't want that. Like I want to be able to be like, hey, if I can pick up cones and I can grab a ball bag, and I can coach the U8 kids, then you can all do it. You know what I mean? So I think it's being um more of a like servitude, like leadership by service, right? I think
Okay.
I try to make sure that I put a good example when I can, and I'm not good at it all the time, right? So I'm always learning, but trying to show people like you can have work-life balance, you can have on the field, off field balance, you can make sure that you're doing the best you can and always go to sleep at night well knowing you did nothing wrong to anybody on purpose ever. As you know, we always make someone upset somehow,
Yeah.
not even on purpose, right? I'm sure I'll make someone upset here on this podcast somehow, not even knowing I did it. But I at least I didn't do it on purpose, right? So I try to tell people if you can go to work and work hard and enjoy what you're doing and continue to grow, right? And do it without ever having to hurt someone else in the process. I mean that's a good day, and that's kind of
Okay.
what I try to do from an executive role is manage. And what I love to do is hire smart people and good people,
Okay.
right? You have to have a team, man. It's not me, right? We're talking about me now, but I have directors, I have managers, I have coaches that are just outstanding, and that helps the organizations run, tip top.
Okay. So yeah, lead by example, right?
I try, right? I mean, you got to try, right? And everything you do, because if you don't do it, then people are like, well, why do I got to do it? I mean, if he's never done it, well, he doesn't know. He's never done this. He's never coached a U8 program. He's never had to run. So, I mean, you don't want anyone ever to say that about you, right?
Right.
I mean, I know you may be like, well, I don't got to prove anything. I'm the director. I mean, that is also a fair attitude, right? And I know many people have that attitude, but I do think that um, being a good example and being more of a servant leadership is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course. Like I mentioned, lead by example. That's the best way to do it. So you mentioned growth, right? What would you advise someone to who's aspiring to become a soccer coach or start their own soccer academy like your own?
What piece of advice to give them to do that?
Yeah, as they're starting their journey.
So, I mean, patience is good, right? I would say practice what your trade is first. A little bit like a lot of people are trying to start. I'm not sure you should start a business, but you should at least know how to run a soccer program, right, before starting a business.
Okay.
Um, that's a little different than, I mean, you can start a lot of different businesses and influencers. There's a lot of things you can do. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of soccer clinics or camps, you kind of have to know how to work with kids
Mhm.
before throwing it out there, right? Because there's legal liability, right?
Yeah.
There's there's insurance liability, right? There's things that you want to. I always tell people get educated, right? Talk to someone who's done it, right? And set up a proper structure before you just jump on a field, right?
Okay.
And try to do something. So I think like we do for soccer and coaching, right? Prepare a bit, like prepare, then
Mhm.
reflect a bit, put a plan together, try to execute it. And once you execute it, then reflect on it again and see what went well, what didn't go well, and then what are you going to change. So I think that's kind of a summer process that I would tell anyone who's trying to get into doing an academy style on their own. Um, is have a good plan in place. And I mean, if you're just starting to get coaching, I'd find a mentor or two, right?
Okay.
That's someone you look up to, someone you trust, someone, it could even be someone you used to play against or someone that you don't know, but you want to meet. Maybe one of the guys you have on a podcast may speak to someone, right? That's listening. And maybe they
Mhm.
want to reach out to one of your guests, right? That you've had,
Yeah.
right? In the past or that you'll have in the future. That's also like put yourself out there. I would also say network,
Oh
networking,
yeah.
networking, networking. I mean, the United Soccer Coaches Convention is an incredible opportunity to network. Incredible, right? I mean, I've been doing that for like, I don't know, 18 years now, if not more. And I've only missed the ones out in California, right? Other than that, I go to all of them just because the one in California, I was with my family on vacation in California. So my wife would have killed me. She would have killed me if I tried to go to a convention. Um, so I'll just say that like I would definitely go to the convention because that's a great place to meet people, connect, and just be immersed in soccer. And it gives you a lot of ideas on how to either collaborate with people, work with people, learn with people, or just steal shamelessly from other ideas.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
I mean, that helps too.
But networking is, I think that's the big one. You just got to network. You got to connect with other coaches or clubs or stuff, or people. You just got to network. That's very important.
Absolutely. It's critical.
Can you reflect on a particular challenging moment in your career and how you navigated through it?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many challenges. I mean, whether it's, I mean, so I think being true to whoever you are and whatever you're going to be, or what your club is going to be, or what your academy is going to be, is critical. Like having integrity is all the thing that you own, right? And your character, right? So, for example, up here in Massachusetts, there was a lot of like crazy times when it was coming to like, where's your team? What league are you going to play in? What team league are you going to play in? And like clubs were falling apart left and right. Clubs had to merge with people. Clubs had to merge and put badges on their shoulders just to play in a league, just to stay relevant. But like we stuck true to our mission and our core principles and just like we don't care where we play, we just want to play. Like as you know, I'm sure out there it's like, do we play in this league or this league or this league or this league or this league? Like there's 17,000 different leagues now,
Yeah.
right? Right. So
Yeah.
that to the parents' confusion and to their frustrations, right? Which is in reality, one of the toughest disconnects we have is like, I want to be family with my families. Like I want to help them. But
Yeah.
sometimes they look at us like, well, you're just taking our money. I'm like, no, no, I'm taking your money to help provide a good service. Like it's not just taking your money. Like I can take someone else's money down the road. I want to take your money to help us make your son better, right? And have a good soccer experience. So I think for me, you know, as we're kind of talking through like, um, the opportunities for the kids and for a club and how we have worked and grown it at, for example, like NEFC or any of my programs, it's finding ways to collaborate, right, with our coaches, with our parents, with our players, and bringing everyone together, right? I think the key for you guys, well, for you, for anyone starting this, is making sure that you bring everyone together, and that the player at the end of the day is always at the center of everything you do.
Mhm.
Because if they're not, like, then what are we doing it for?
Right.
Right? I think that's one of the things that I did. So sorry if I got sidetracked on your question, but it made me realize that, um, making this work and putting something together requires that you have like everyone working together.
Right. No, yeah, like you mentioned before, we're here because of the player. We're here to help them out.
Correct.
So what drives your mission to and inspire and empower the next generation of soccer players and coaches? And what do you hope your lasting impact will be on the sport?
Listen, you know what? All I want is that at the end of the day, like, people always say, it'd be great to have, this or have you in the Hall of Fame or this Hall of Fame so that your legacy lives on, right?
Mhm.
Um, I'm very blessed, I have, I'm fortunate, right? I'm in a couple Hall of Fames already, and I'm hopefully my high school team, we're gonna be in it next year. So like, that's cool, right? But that's a legacy that will live on. But I don't know if how many kids that is gonna help change, right? What's going to happen in the world in the future for like soccer, right? Hopefully, my guys will always be involved, but who knows? But my legacy, I hope, when I leave and I no longer coach, is that I've put a kid in a better position, right? When they left me than when they came to me. Like, that's it. Like, it's little steps. Like, if I met a kid and a parent or a family and they were with me for 1 hour, for one camp, for 1 week, for 10 years, I want them to be better, better people when they leave me than when I
Right.
first met them. And if that's the case, then I'm happy. Like that's my goal, right? I mean, because if you can't measure your success as a person or a coach based on wins or based on goals or based on, trophies and based on awards you win and accolades, right? Because you know what? There's some amazing coaches that haven't won one thing,
Yeah.
haven't won one award, right? And just because you're not a coach of the year here or there doesn't mean you're not a great coach. It just means that your legacy may be something different. Your kids may all love the game. Your kids may be administrators. So for me, it would be if I could have every kid or parent that crosses our path be a little bit better, right? Then I'm happy. But also, if I can help push the game in a positive direction in the States or in the worlds in some way, that's awesome. That'd be a goal, right? And hopefully I do that with some coach education. Hopefully this podcast will be one of many opportunities that we get to connect and we can help change, the soccer world and make it a positive experience for everybody. But the hope is that it's just a very positive energy that I would leave behind wherever I go.
Right. That I go back to the same thing I said before, and it's the impact we have on the players, outside the soccer. That's the impact we have because like you mentioned before, they might not make it professional, but there might be the next coach, the next generation, the parents, you know.
Yeah, I think that the big thing now is like our generations are all changing. Like, and every like 2 or 3 years, like there's a new type of player, new type of kid. Um, whether they have more anxiety, whether they have other things going on at school, and whether they're being pushed, like different types of coaching styles are needed, different types of empathy is needed, different types of sympathy skills are needed. So like we are no longer just coaches, right? We are
Mhm.
like we're mentors, we're dads, we're moms, we're supporters, we're psychologists, we're all these things to these kids. And I think sometimes we just need to take a break and help ourselves. And I think this is what like your type of podcast and other educational opportunities are is let's us breathe and just reflect a bit and think. Because like we're always trying to help and answer the kids and work with the kids. And I think that one thing to remind ourselves of is like, yes, we're there for them, but who's there for us?
Right.
Right. And I think we got to remember we have to be there for each other, not crucify each other, but help each other. Right.
Oh,
We
of
can be
course. Yeah.
competitors. We can be competitors, but we still should be how do you say it?
At,
Colleagues. Right.
yeah, yeah. At the end of the game, we can still be colleagues, share our knowledge.
Correct. Correct. But yeah, so anyways, it's it is what it is there in terms of ways to learn and grow and change. And if there's a way to do it as a parent and a coach, right? I think we need to work together to help players, right? I
Okay.
don't think we have to be adversaries, right? And I think that there's a little bit of a disconnect where parents and coaches kind of butt heads a bit, where I see a lot of things. And I think that a parent is your biggest ally because when your kid's not with you on the field, they're with the coach. I'm sorry, they're with their parents,
Yeah.
right? And if a parent is on board and hey, did you practice your juggling? Did you do this? Did you do that? Versus, oh, your coach is always talking about, like right there, just that attitude shift, like a supportive parent of what we're doing versus one like your coach doesn't give you anything to work on. I mean, I don't understand why we're paying him. You can already tell the difference, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How that conversation is going to be redirected for their player. And then his or her mood already is different with the coach. So,
Yeah.
like, I believe it's very important for coaches. And you had mentioned something, and I just connected like, parents are a major ally in coaching,
Oh
major,
yeah.
right? Anyone who sees them as not an ally needs to reevaluate that, in my opinion, right? Because they are a massive ally on this journey.
Oh no, for sure. Because many times, like you could get one parent mad, and he'll start talking. He'll start telling, "Hey, no, this coach is not good. This coach is not doing this." And if you have a good team, good group, he'll break that whole thing.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the power of the negative effect. Like a parent, one negative, people used to say one a spoiled what is it? A spoiled apple can
Mhm.
ruin a bunch, right?
Yeah.
That is true, right? But at some point, why did we allow that apple to get spoiled? Right? As coaches, we need to be able to, and we can't fix everything, right? Sometimes they're just parents that are a problem, or players that are a problem, coaches that are a problem, and it's just not a good fit. I get it. But we should be able to communicate effectively with parents and work with them because I think they are number one asset and ally when working with player development.
Oh, for sure. So, with that being said, being the having the parents as your ally, what books do you read to help you navigate through there?
So, I mean, in terms of books, right? Uh, it's hard for me in terms of parents. What I do is more like I do a little bit of listening. So I
Okay.
listen to a lot of leadership books, right?
Hmm.
Right now I listen to Crush It, right? Or Crushing It, right, by George. I listen to Daniel Pink, right? In terms of motivation, right? So it's like motivating books, it's leadership books, it's books like even like for example, like The Joy in Living with like Mother Teresa, right? I'm also used to be a youth minister. So different types of things in terms of dealing with like people and relationships
Okay.
versus just soccer and parenting, right? It also
Hmm.
helps out of a parent. So I just going through the experience of parenting, right, is important, right? And being and living through it. But I think what really helps with parents is communication. I mean, you can read whatever you want, but like everyone's reading the same book now, right? Everyone's reading a book. So everyone's trying to get the upper hand by they know this information from this book and let's use it. So I think it's more just being honest and personable and either they're going to like you or they're not going to like you. And if they like you, great, then you can work it out. If they don't, it is what it is. But I do think that, sharing some knowledge and I think getting to know people personally helps, right? I think
Hmm.
if you're just a coach, I think like it's easy to be like, oh, well, I don't know him and we'll move on because I don't like him, I don't trust him or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So I think building rapport with parents and managing that environment is really important.
Oh no, for sure. Yeah, yeah. You gotta be able to connect with the parents, because they're the ones that's paying.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a pay to play model here, right? So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the parents in our play to play model in the States, parents are paying,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So we have to understand that they do have that opportunity to voice their concern or opinions at times
Oh,
in
absolutely. Yep.
a respectful manner, of course, but they do have that opportunity to do it.
Hmm. No, I agree completely. Yep. So, what would you prefer, watching a professional soccer team's practice from the beginning to the end, or actually attending a soccer match?
Hmm. Depends on what team. I mean, I would say the joy and love of being in a match, an experience like whether it be in Portugal or in England or being in Curitiba when I was there watching them play. You know, it's just for Copa Libertadores, right? Libertadores. It's just
Mhm.
there's a thing about being in a stadium that's rocking
Yeah.
that you just don't forget. Like the vibrations where you think like everything's gonna fall apart, right? But just everyone singing and jumping and dancing in unison with fireworks. So like if it's that kind of game, I want to go to the game.
Okay.
I want to go to the game, right? If it's a game that is not that entertaining, it's kind of like what it is, and then I'd love to go watch a high level training session because
Mhm.
I always like to learn and see how a coach interacts and relates to their guys.
Okay.
But if it's a rocking stadium, I'm going to the game every time. Every time.
Like the Champions League final.
Yeah, every time I'm going to the game.
So we gotta start wrapping it up, Coach John, because we've been here for an hour, and I know you're busy and probably like 10 over there right now.
Yeah, it's 10:10. That's all right. This is great. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for being here. So what's next for you?
Yeah, I mean, so next for me is fun. Right now, right now, we're in the middle of renewing families to come back next year for the club. I'm
Okay.
getting ready for our camp in New Hampshire for BGSA. I'm getting excited because it's less than 3 weeks away for our high school season to start again. My daughter and my son, we have games next week, and I think my daughter's team is competing, and she'll be going to the state her playoffs. So like immediately it's soccer, 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 and I still have to mow my lawn. So like immediately I got things to do. Um, and then, you know, over the next few years, I want to continue. I want to be around for my kids. So like I'm going to stay kind of where I am, but I have other projects and plans in the works for like once my kids kind of move on that hopefully I'll be doing a little bit more stuff going international and doing different things. But right now I really like the coach education piece.
Okay.
And I just realized that I even have my coach educator background on. I just saw that. Sorry. But so that when I do my Zoom meetings, but I love that part of it. Like I really love that part of what I'm doing now. So I want to just get better at that because
Okay.
that's also something I'm learning and making tons of mistakes on, but then just gotta kind of reflect and go back and find ways to do a better job of guiding our coaches. Um, so immediately you'll be busy getting ready for next year. Longer term, just hanging out for my kids for another few years and see how what goes there, and then see where the soccer world takes me, or if maybe I just go do something else and I stock shelves somewhere and I move on. Who knows? But that's it. But that's it for me.
So what message or piece of advice would you like to leave our listeners as they continue their own coaching journey?
Yeah. So my advice would be enjoy it. Like
Okay.
like have fun. You'll have stressful moments, and that's okay. Navigate them. Learn to be someone who perseveres. I'm a big believer in perseverance,
Okay.
right? You will take coach education, and you should. I strongly encourage you to do coach education. I strongly encourage you to build your network. I strongly encourage you to think outside the box in terms of how to build relationships. But I also say practice. Like practice what you're doing. Like don't just go on one license and then jump on the next one, then jump on the next one, jump on the next one without practicing what you've learned,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Your methodology, right? Like take the time to like, hey, learn 11v11, go practice with some teams for 5, 6 months, right? Take your D license, then go practice that information, that knowledge you received for another 5, 6 months. Then go to the C license and practice that for another 5, 6, 10 months, right? So that you're not just jumping from license to license just to get the piece of paper. Really appreciate the knowledge. That's what my recommendations would be is like practice a bit, enjoy it, make it fun all the time, network as much as possible, and get as much education as you can because there's nothing wrong with learning, being challenged, and being vulnerable, right? I would say that those are pretty important things to do. And then reach out anytime if you want to catch up or hang out. I'm sure he'll put together our emails and our contacts and all that stuff. And please feel free to reach out and connect. And I'll be at the convention, and hopefully you guys will be too in 2025 in Chicago. So we can also meet in person. So that's it for me. But thanks so much for having me, and I really do appreciate your time and you reaching back out. And I wish you the best of luck with this awesome Voices of Football podcast, and hopefully it goes really well for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for all that. I forgot what I was gonna say. So where can listeners learn more about you?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll put it in, but it's a beautiful game. SA, as in
Okay.
socceracademy.com. That's where my camps are, and then obviously NEFC dot US is my club that I work with, and then obviously Oliver Ames High School and Easton Soccer. If you live in Easton and you want to be part of that youth program, eastonsoccer.com. And then again, I'll make sure I give my information and my links that you can put up with the podcast, so that if you had no idea what I just said, you'll be able to just click on it directly.
Yeah. So the last couple questions are just silly questions. Okay.
Perfect.
So if you could play for a soccer team any soccer team in the world, who would it be?
Any soccer team in the world right now,
Any team right now. Yep.
I'd have to say I'd love to try to play for Benfica.
Oh wow, really? Okay.
Yes, they need help.
Oh. What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you on the field?
I scored the best goal ever, diving header, upper 90 into my own goal.
Oh wow.
It was
Okay.
amazing. I mean, amazing. At Sacred Heart University, it was unbelievable goal. Amazing. On my own goal.
Would you rather play a game in the snow or in the rain?
Oh my gosh. Definitely the rain, man. I got hit in the snow once and it was not pretty.
Uh,
Definitely the rain.
does it feel harder the ball or
It's terrifying. I had the word back in the day. I don't know if you guys have brine balls, Brine. It
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
it was the plastic panel ones.
Okay.
Hit inner thigh, inner thigh during a snowstorm, and the brine imprint was
Yeah.
so hard and so cold. It was there for 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay.
so I will definitely do rain. Today.
Well, Coach John, thank you for being here again on this podcast. That's all the questions I've got.
Great. Well, thank you again. Thanks for having me. And again, if you ever need any time to fill, let me know. I'm happy to come back and visit, but appreciate all you do, and hopefully you have great success with it.
No, absolutely. We'd love to have you back here. I learned a lot from you, being on here. So thank you so much for coming on here.
Thank you.